So I have been in the Sonic fandom for quite a while, since 2003 in fact. I'm old enough to remember even when people complained about Sonic Mega Collection not having Sonic Shuffle nor Sonic CD. Yes, that was the thing that happened, and it was in an old Lost French forum, so whatever. There even was that one time where Sonic X episode 53 script was leaked and people were very confused. Either way, the Sonic discourse, like any gaming discourse, kind of feels like white void, which is why I rarely tend to consume Sonic videos or even go on Sonic Twitter. I'd rather play Sonic 06 or Sonic Labyrinth than to deal with this fandom. But then something really struck me as odd. Apparently Sonic Adventure was supposed to be an RPG at first, but I can barely find any YouTube videos on this. So you know what? I'll make a YouTube video myself. It might not entirely be based on facts and evidence, so it's me just speculating. What if Sonic Adventure was an RPG? And yeah, that's it, that's all. I will be talking about the various game elements and then speculate on about the story. But first, it's credits time. What if Sonic Adventure was an RPG? Thank you everybody. Either way, let's start with the graphics. They would be the same. Like exactly the same. Maybe there would be some cool HUD with stats, but you know, I just think it would look like the same thing aside from that. Next, sound design. It would also probably stay the same, and the story would also be probably voice acted, but again, it would depend if the game structure was very different. RPGs are usually about immersing players in a world, while Sonic Adventure was more about look at the cool music in these levels. So depending on the direction, it would be maybe an epic soundtrack, or just maybe the funky Sonic soundtrack we all used to love. Super Mario RPG already has a funky soundtrack, so maybe Sonic could too. Now we need to talk about the gameplay. What I think is that Sonic would probably be a casual RPG for kids, Super Mario RPG or Paper Mario style, and with also some platforming elements, albeit more limited platforming elements. The combat would be turn-based probably, but with a neat little addition. Since Super Mario RPG had some timing button elements, Sonic Adventure would probably have some QTEs. I mean, Sonic Team is part of Sega, and maybe they could have asked some help from Yu Suzuki. So honestly, that would make a lot of sense. Oh, and maybe add some risk-reward element. Like the quicker you are at the QTE, the more damage you do. Would there be some random battles? Maybe, maybe not. While random battles save some budget, seeing the enemies on the map would probably be more helpful. When I was a kid, I used to hate random battles, so maybe that would make things more accessible to kids. But whatever, we all know Sonic Adventure was rushed in the end, so random battles it is, baby. But aside from the combat, there will probably be a lot of puzzles like they are in the final game, and maybe perhaps some dungeons, which would probably act as levels in the game. The scope of the world would probably be much bigger, like an actual RPG, but then again, the world might be cut down just to please little kids. Again, this is an RPG for 5-year-old Timmy, so the game has to point you to the right direction. But I think there would be multiple towns with multiple NPCs to talk to, and maybe the tornado would help Sonic and the gang reach new heights, at least maybe later in the game. Or it could be like Super Mario RPG and just select a world from Tails' tornado. There would be a lot of pieces of equipment that could probably help the characters go through some puzzles, and probably some optional backtracking. I'm just going to spoil you guys right now. While While I wouldn't be surprised if every character was playable, I don't think Big the Cat would be. The thing is that Big the Cat was made to attract some casual players. But since I wouldn't be surprised if Sonic Adventure had a fishing minigame, Big would probably not be playable anyways, but would rather be an RPG at Big's fishing kiosk, and there would be this big side quest which involves you finding Big's lures in order to catch the legendary fish. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The game would probably have some side quests, but they would be entirely optional because only Jimmy would be able to accomplish them, you smartams. And these side quests would probably depend on the day-night cycle thing, with every NPC having some kind of different dialogue, which honestly reminds me a lot of Sonic Unleashed. As for the Chao Garden, I wouldn't be surprised if the game gave you rings for the enemies that you defeated, as well as a random chance to get an animal for you to use on your chows. I legitimately wouldn't be surprised if that gameplay aspect would remain the same. Chows are perfectly fine for an RPG, and you know, kids would probably obsess over them. At least, like I did when I was a child. Either way, now we gotta get to the story part. I wouldn't be surprised if at first the characters would each have their mini prologues, except for Big. Big wouldn't be playable, so we wouldn't have any impact on the story anyways, but would go on to remain a cult classic characters, which would live on in the fandom so much that he would reappear in the next games. But again, that's gonna be for the reception part. But I think the story would probably remain the same aside from Big's absence. It's just that after the prologues, you would probably start as Sonic and then gain new party members from there. While most of the story and the lore would probably remain the same, there would be a lot of differences. First up, Amy would probably be kidnapped one time, instead of just being chased around all the time. Then Sonic would deliver her, and she would join the party. Also, the further in the story you get, everyone gets to see the flashback, not just one character, and would probably comment on it. I would also not be surprised if 102 Gamma's sacrifice would probably be seen by everyone. Like, yeah, it's a bit less dramatic, but it would make sense. But it would still make me cry. Also, the thing is that you'd get to see characters interact with each other much more, which, using the game's voice acting, would be probably glorious. The old Chaos Eggman story, though, would probably remain the same. It's just that the final story would probably not exist. It would instead be reworked in the main plot, and that's pretty much what I think the story of the Sonic Adventure RPG would look like. If you have any other ideas, comment down below. As for the reception, I wouldn't be surprised, given the RPG craze of the end of the 2000s, that the critics would probably love this game. Sure, it would probably be a bit childish for them, and the change from platformer to RPG would probably baffle them, but the critics would probably label this game as one of the greatest RPGs of the Sega Dreamcast, along with Grandia 2 and Skies of Arcadia. However, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of fans were like, this isn't a platformer, we want more platforming. And because of that, Sonic Adventure 2 would probably be a platformer, but we'd probably get another Sonic RPG down the line. Like, imagine Sonic 06 as an RPG. Also, Big the Cat and the Chao Garden would probably be fondly remembered. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was a GameCube port too. But yeah, this was a very enjoyable video to make. If you want me to make something like it or have any ideas, write it down in the comments. As for me, I think I'll leave you and just let you like, comment and subscribe.